Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm just glad you're here. Real quick, I want to say thank you to the channel members. Thank you. And thank you for anybody who comes in to check out my knife, my EDC content. Thank you. If you're so inclined and you haven't had a chance yet, if you'd hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, really help me out. So today we are going to look at 10 knives out of my collection that are most likely to put your eye out. What I mean by that is these knives all have a very acute splinter digging dagger style, well not dagger style, just pokey, stabby tip, like this Finch Roadrunner. Finch Roadrunner is probably one of the last Finches I picked up when I was collecting Finches, which are fantastic knives. I mean, perfectly centered. This one is 154 cm. This is a kind of a dagger style. Finch kind of melds old school traditional styling with modern locking systems and modern materials. This knife, when I picked it up, I want to say was around $125. Full-size knife, fits my hand very well. It's got a very sharp blade, but most importantly, it is very pokey, stabby. I don't have any paper. But it is very, very pokey, stabby. Have to be very careful with it, not to put your eye out, because it does have that really acute point. At $125, and this is the Finch Roadrunner. I think they're up to about $145 now. Moving on, we come to a knife by Wii. This is a knife I picked up almost 3 years ago, and it was a limited run where they did 150 in the raw titanium and 150 in black. And I'm really surprised they didn't sell faster, because this is the Wii Fornix. It is 20 CV. It is titanium. It is very light, very thin, has an extremely acute point, very pokey, stabby, plus you've got this harpoon tip. Operates on bearings, frame lock with both a traditional flipper and a middle finger flicking hole that you can get from just about anywhere. Plus you've got this really nice forward finger choil. So for just an EDC cutter, it's a great knife. But for a knife that you might, if you're not careful, poke your eye out with or defend your Slurpee, this is definitely one that is up for the challenge. The Wii Fornix is it 20 CV or is it S35? Hold on one second, guys. I don't want to give you bad information. Let me grab my old man eyes here real quick. CPM 20 CV. So it is 20 CV. I was giving you accurate information, and that is the Wii Fornix. Really unique knife, really limited edition knife that I'm really surprised didn't sell better than it did, or quicker than it did. But that was number 9, takes us to number 8, and we've got this little guy here with the coffin-shaped deployment hole. This is the Jason Grant Tripper. The Tripper, I guess you'd call a Tonto, because it is. But I look at it as an extremely aggressive, pokey, stabby knife. You've got a really sharp hollow grind. You've got a really sharp front grind. But most importantly, you've got that just absolutely acute tip that, again, if you're not careful, you will put your eye out with this knife. It is absolutely sharp. It is absolutely delightful to deploy, whether you middle finger flick it, front flick it, or just hit it with the regular traditional flick. This is the Jason Grant Tripper. Fantastic little knife. Very, very pokey. Very, very stabby. And be careful with it around your eye. So that is a Jason Grant Tripper coming in at number 8. Which brings us to number 7. Number 7 is kind of a rare knife in my collection. It's a knife I picked up when Drop was still in business selling knives. And this is the Drop collaboration with Brad Zinker called the Dogtooth. The Dogtooth is a wicked Wharncliffe blade. You've got this compound grind, a little bit thicker here at the back, but very, very sharp. Seeing if I can find some more paper. It's just about out, but very slicey, very pokey. So this guy here is S35 VN, carbon fiber handles, titanium liner, traditional flipper deployment, really nice sharpening choil, really comfortable grip, and very, very dangerous in terms of being an eye poker, and will put your eye out if you're not careful. Super sharp, super pokey. The Drop / Brad Zinker Dogfish is a light, awesome little knife. Number 6, we come to probably the fattest knife in my collection that could very easily put your eye out. And yes, I'm talking about the Spyderco YoJimbo 2. Even though this is a tall, hollow ground Wharncliffe slicer, this is 2 pieces of paper actually folded up. This thing has a fighting point that is devastating. It is devastating not only because it is so acute, but because that point widens as it's thrust or as it pokes you in the eye. It wouldn't be long for you, my friend. I don't think it's a very good one to get poked in the eye with. It is designed to be a self-defense knife. However, I look at it and use it as kind of like a full-sized EDC knife. It works so well as a slicer, as a cardboard processor. I mean, you don't even feel it go through the paper. I don't want to cut my finger because I don't have any full-size paper. I do have little bits of coupon from where I slice them up. And the YoJimbo is an absolute piercing, slicing, made in the USA, Golden, Colorado Earth knife. I've got some Knife Joy scales on it with a Knife Joy titanium hardware package and an MX gear clip. It's in CPM S30V, and it is an absolute winner. Which brings us to number 5. These aren't really in any order, but this is another big, fat, absolute eye gouger. You could put your eye out with this with very little effort. And you've got to be very careful with it because that point is so acute. This is one of, by far, the sharpest knives in my collection, and it came from the factory that way. Even though it's a bigger, thicker grind, it is a laser beam. And that tip is so pronounced, it is an absolute piercer. So, whether you're using this around a site to cut wood, to cut cardboard, whether you're using this in a self-defense motion to save your Slurpee, the Microtech Ram-Lok Stitch is made in America, has this Ram-Lok which is very similar to a bar lock where you just pull back on it and it allows it to fall. Perfectly centered, aluminum handles, made in the USA. I think it's an absolute winner. This is the Microtech Stitch Ram-Lok. at number 5. Brings us to number 4. And yep, it's another Spyderco, guys. There were other Spydercos I have in my collection that are kind of pokey, eye stabby, but I don't think any are really as dangerous, and you need to watch out for as much as this Wharncliffe, because it is such an acute point. It comes down to such an acute point. It is a very functional Wharncliffe in CTS or CTS XHP. Very slicey, very pokey. I've got this knife in a Tanto, in a drop point, and in this Wharncliffe. And this Wharncliffe, even though it kind of looks like a bird, an angry bird, it is one of the pokiest Spydercos in my collection. Jabby, stabby, slicey, goosey. It works great. I do have some rock scale design scales on here. I do have an affiliate link with a discount code on my link tree for rock scale designs. This is the dragon scale pattern and just raw titanium. The ones on my Mannix are sniper gray, the darker ones. But fantastic knife, Lynch clip. I was lucky enough to trade Brother Justin OCD for EDC. So this also has the added value to me of his Spydertech club number, which lets me know it's his, which knows it'll be a forever knife for me. Brings us to number 2. Number 2 is a knife I've had in my collection now for about a week. It's not my knife, but I've been carrying it, and I've got a review coming up on it, and it is an absolute beast. This is the Wingman EDC. I don't know if you can see that logo there. Jett, J-E-T-T. So what you've got here is you've actually got a Tanto, front bevel, back bevel. Got a hollow grind with a thick flat. You've got an absolute screaming point. And you've got a piercing tip. So when I say a piercing tip, what I mean by that, let me get a little piece of paper here, is the front is very sharp. The hollow grind is scary sharp. And then the tip not only pierces, but with that kind of semi-rounded Tanto blade, it pierces and it cuts. So this would be a bad one to slip and have fall in your eye because A, it's so pokey, B, it's so thrustable. I mean, this knife is designed, in my opinion, kind of with a tactical posture. Looks futuristic. It's a frame lock, M390, flipper only, but you can light switch it, or you can push button it, and either way, it cracks open, has a lot of snap. Fantastic knife in what they call frosted titanium with frosted hollow grind and frosted flat, frosted swedge, and then you've got hand satin on the flats. Beautiful, pokey knife that I would keep away from your eye because it will definitely poke it out. This is the Wingman EDC Jett, J-E-T-T. Which brings us, guys, to number 2. Number 2 is my little gentleman's automatic, the first real automatic in my collection, and this is the Protech Newport, which makes for a perfect gentleman's knife because it's so small, has such a loose, not loose, but an easy in and out of khaki pants pocket, and it's got this nice drop point blade that comes to an absolute poker. This thing will put your eye out in no time flat. It is S35VN, and it is got the most acute little dagger tip, even though it's not a dagger that you could want, and it would be one that could very easily slip and put your eye out. Pokey and stabby as they go. About a 3-inch blade. Very light package. I love this knife for that reason. It makes for probably my most carried EDC automatic because, again, has great ergos. Very light, both in hand and in pocket. Serves a lot of EDC tasks very well, whether it's opening packages, cutting down cardboard. Fantastic pokey stabby knife, Protech Newport at number 2. Which brings us to number 1, which is a wackadoodle knife from Todd Knife and Tool. I collect those designs, and this is one OEM by Besttech, and it's called the Malware. So Besttech makes the Shodan, the Exploit, I have those guys. Wii makes the Roxy 3, which I have, and the Roxy 4. And then the Malware is the longest of the Besttechs and the slimmest, the most alien looking, the most pokey knife, the most likely to put your eye out in this video by a long shot. So you've got S35VN blade steel, frame lock knife, you got a middle finger flick, you got a traditional flipper tab, you've got an absolute banger of a knife. It is both slicey with a tall flat grind that cuts like nobody's business because you've got such a long 4-inch blade. But most importantly, it is an absolute Pokesaurus. As pokey and stabby as any in this series of 10. This is number 1 for a reason. And this is the one that I would be the most careful with when you're getting close to your eye. Again, when you look at these tips, they're all very acute. Some are going to be a little bit more spread out. Some are going to have a little bit more shape, like the Tonto on the Wingman. But they're all going to hold that I will put your eye out in a second look, just because those points are so acute. So guys, we've got YoJimbo next to our Microtech Stitch, next to our PM2, next to our little Dogfish, next to our Grant Tripper, next to our Wii Forx, and finally next to our Finch Roadrunner. Guys, all those are pokey stabby. All those will put your eye out if you're not careful. Be careful. Go forward with love. Do me a favor. Look out for the guy or gal to your left. Look out for that guy or gal to your right. Look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart and choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.